So this might be an appropriate time for me to come outside based on what we're going to be talking about today, especially on a day like today.
Let's talk about the weather. We have some new research.
We do have some new research. We did a national study, and we specifically asked about how to best promote weather. And look, here we are now into fall, and hurricane season still very active, and also thinking about winter. I mean, winter's kind of right around the corner here. And so what a better time to be talking about some things that you can do to really get people to want to tune in and to drive consumption around weather.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up some of the research slides that we have that you were referring to. And while I'm doing that, I'm curious, right now we've got an election coming. We're still in this pandemic. There's a lot of social unrest. Is weather still a big driver for news?
Yeah, no question about it, right? I mean, so within all these other topics, people still need their weather. They're still interested in talking about it, and it still drives them to local news. We see that in a lot of our recent studies, that it definitely is still a top driver, and in a way a distraction from all the other news. It's something that people can think about other than the anxieties of the world and what's happening all around them. Look, weather is going to drive anxiety based on some of these hurricanes and tropical systems and other big weather events, but it's also that daily weather that continues to be critical, and you can see that here in this data. So we asked people in this slide, what's going to get you to watch? And so you can see there the orange, less likely to tune in, versus the blue, more likely to tune in. And we rank these by essentially the most likely or more likely to tune in number. So the 7-day forecast at the top of the list, the green circle shows the more minus less. In other words, how many more people versus those who are less likely percentage-wise to do it. The 7-day forecast, and any forecast that mentions an upcoming holiday or an event, or those are going to be those items that you've got to make sure are priorities in your promotion. These are topicals specifically that we're talking about, Michelle.
Yeah, so it looks like of all the top ones that are listed, it's really about helping people plan for their day or their week or the month even.
Yeah, look, I mean, these 7 days we've known have been really important, and people can access them anywhere. I think the beauty of what we can do as a local news source, though, is we can take people through a 7-day. We can explain it. We know the market. We know the local area. We can hold their hand through. We can talk about it. And that's a really important factor when we are doing a 7-day, and then to promise it as part of our coverage is obviously critical here. Something jumped out at me on this chart at the bottom of this list here. So any sort of mention of a social media post or a social post about weather not being as big of a tune-in driver, but still a +10. What's your read on that?
I think a lot of times it's because social media is something about how you feel. So when you talk about like a social media post, the ones that do the best for weather is like, hey, yeah, we finally have sunshine and the air is clear and the sky is blue, and people can react and comment because it makes them feel good or that's something they want to talk about. But it's not necessarily a driver to get them to watch the newscast.
Yeah, you talk a lot about pride of place, certainly is wrapping into that as well on social media.
Right. So it's more, it gets people to interact in a different way than watching. It gets them to interact emotionally instead of planning. And the other thing too is sometimes I think the way a lot of local news organizations do social media is they just give it all away. If you're going to give the whole weather forecast away on social media, then of course they're not going to tune in to watch.
Yeah. So that second one too, I just want to go back to that here, second one down. Think about Halloween. Think about, of course, Thanksgiving. Think about the holidays in December. Anytime that you can tease those elements specifically and within a 7-day, gold. You can see that very clearly here.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get to these other ones as well. What are we seeing here?
So yeah, we want to know who should be doing a topical tease around weather, and very clearly here that the audience is going to be more likely to tune in if that expert, that lead meteorologist for that day part is doing the topical, right? So that
doesn't surprise me at all.
It doesn't, and I guess when I look at this, does that mean the anchors should never do a weather topical? No, I don't think that's what this is saying, because it still comes out in the positive. But the way I would do this is if it's a big weather event, then wrap in the whole team, right? So you're going to have your anchors, your reporters covering weather, and your expert. And I would lead with your expert. If it's a typical daily weather topical, that meteorologist should be doing it all the time.
Great. And then we've got one more data point I just want to get to before we wrap up here.
Yeah, making your POP pop. So POP, right? Proof of performance, or POB we hear, proof of benefit spot. These are effective. What types, though, of scenarios make them most effective? You can see at the top of the list here, it's when you remind people about what you did to cover a severe weather event, right? So a tropical system, a tornado outbreak, whatever it might be, a big snowstorm. Those are going to be the areas where people are going to want to see that proof. And then accuracy has to be part of that messaging in there. So look, we don't want to be bragging. That's not the point here. But we do want to be letting people know and proving to people that what we may have mentioned 4 or 5 or 6 days ago came to fruition. So we have a bunch of examples. We see those around the country. Reach out to Michelle or to me. If you're interested, we could send you some of those there for sure. So look, do a POP after a big event. You should already be putting a POP together during the weather event, sourcing the newscast, sourcing push alerts, social media posts, right? You want to put it all in there, not just what we did on TV, but what we did everywhere.
For sure. We know that people get their weather reports from many different devices, so that's important.
Yes.
Well, great. Well, I hope the weather stays good where we are, since we're here in the Bay Area, and we wish the best for everyone else around the country as hurricane season still is forging forward.
For sure, and fire season too for lots of folks too. So stay safe out there, and hopefully the skies will remain clear.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate your time, and thanks to everybody who tuned in. We will see you next time.
Bye, guys. See you.